Let me just. All right, here we go. So, I'm going to ask you to pronounce your last name for us, Victoria, because I don't want to mess it up.
Yes, it's a complicated name wherever, even in my home country. So it's Ichizli Bartels.
Okay. Yeah, that is a little more complicated than I can.
Yes, it has the first half. It's my maiden name, and it has a Turkish origin. So people in Turkey can pronounce it very well. But I come from Moldova, so
Okay, great. Well, welcome to the podcast. You're actually the first author for us to interview on the International Writers Inspiring Change Author Shout Out podcast. So we're very excited about this.
thank you for having me.
Yeah. And the podcast will run for approximately 30 minutes, just so you know.
Mhm.
So we'll
Okay.
keep it in that frame.
Hmm.
There are these pop-ups here on my screen. Okay, so I'm just going to ask you a bunch of questions, and you can just sort of freewheel as you go. Okay, just
Okay.
answer along. So, tell us about you.
Uh, um, yes. So my name is Victoria, and I am a writer, a consultant, a life gamer. Uh, my life somehow developed quite interestingly over the years, unexpectedly also for me. So, but I enjoy looking at life as games, and this is what I guess I am right now. I am a life gamer and enjoy it very much.
That's great. And you've written quite a number of books about it too.
Yes, it's over 10 now. Yes, I don't
Just
remember the exact number.
well, just in that series alone, the gaming series, right?
Yes,
Uh-huh.
yes. In general, I have over 20, but for only in this area, over 10, yes.
Yeah, it's impressive. Very impressive. What inspired you to write? Where did it start?
It came gradually. Also, like reading. I've been told that as a child I've been holding books and like with my finger going along the rows, not knowing what that was. And then I discovered it somewhere at the university that I really enjoyed reading and I couldn't stop. And then I kind of started asking myself, can I do that? Would I ever do that? And first, the answer was no. But later, I was curious about it, started reading about the craft. I was already full-time working and had my PhD after. So I've been happy in where I am, where I was, but it came somehow. But I was still thinking, no, I will never be able to do that. So especially writing books. So I started with a blog, and then was writing short stories, and people started finding me, and I got to know some people and even become friends over the email. And but then a story came. It was the story of my father who lost his family during the Second World War, and that story just was there and wasn't leaving me alone. And it wasn't just a blog post; it was a
That,
book.
that's
So
the book.
I decided,
That's the book you
yeah,
call The Truth About Family, right?
yes, this
Ah,
is the one. Yes. So I just gave it a go without was thinking I will try it. I don't have to publish it. I will just try it, and then yes. With some ups and downs, I finished it, and I had an amazing experience with communicating with my mom, who was my main consultant. So I asked her a lot of questions, and I made copies of the pictures and of my father during his time as a child, and also later. And so it was amazing experience. And so it didn't. I couldn't stop, so I finished at some point and published.
oh, that's great. That's great. Actually, I read that book. It was that your first book, by the way?
Yes, that's my first book.
Okay, I read the story. It was a great story. It was very compelling because
Yeah.
it talked a lot. I mean, it really gave you an inside look at what it was like behind the Iron Curtain in Russia and
Yes.
or the Soviet Union at that time.
Yes,
That's
especially
definitely
the 60s when he was in the at the university, also before, also in the orphanage. So it's,
mm,
I think it shows also not only of course behind the Iron Curtain, but also the whole the conflicts after the war and the orphanages and all the losses there've been, and how difficult it was for people to communicate with each other, and how people also been helpful when you see how there were stories like my father would never study at the university if there wasn't someone at the school who would take care and pay for him from his own money, to finish the
mm,
school. So there are amazing people along the way, and everyone has. I hope everyone has such a person. So, and my father was blessed to have, and then he met through that my mother, and yeah, here I
right.
am. Yes.
Your mother read the book, obviously, right?
Yes, but it took some time because she doesn't read English, and I love writing in English, so I translated it in Romanian and gave it to her as a gift, and she loved it.
Okay,
Yes.
that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's sort of the, but you sort of piqued my interest when you said that you were sort of going back and forth on the whole subject of writing. What was it that, was it just a lack of confidence, or did you feel you had to be trained as a writer before you could publish a book, or what was it that was holding you back?
I just I loved books, so I saw how amazing the books are. So I thought that I couldn't possibly do. I never thought that writing was easy. Maybe some people think, oh, it's easy to do, just to put words on there. But when I saw, especially the books and authors that I admired, I never thought it is easy to do. They were for me as an adventure, as a miracle. It's just amazing, a fairy tale.
Mm.
Um, so actually, when I was writing my first book, I was traveling I work from home mostly, but at that time I was working for a company where I traveled to the main office there and back, and I was at the airport, and just looking around. Took a break from writing my book in my notebook, and was walking around, and then saw like a small shop where they were selling some fashion jewelry, and there was a small bead there, and it said fairy tale. And I suddenly thought, oh wow, I am writing a book. It's my fairy tale. So I immediately bought this, and actually the bead itself, it was a small book, and it said on it fairy tale. So I bought it and I wore it as on a chain for a very, very long time, because it was like a symbol to me. I
Like good
was
luck charm. Yeah.
Yes, yes, and that actually was an amazing feeling as a writer. So I'm actually in that fairy tale to create something hopefully amazing. So that was the main hurdle at the beginning. So I started reading a lot about being a writer, about publishing, thought whether I will be traditionally published or self-published. So then I came to certain conclusions over time. So yes.
Wow. I mean, the irony of it is that you started out wondering if you could publish a book, and now you're a cheerleader for authors all
Thank
over.
you. I hope so.
Yeah, that's great. Well, let's just move on to that subject because uh, you founded Optimist Writer, right? That's tell us
Yes.
about that. What is that?
Yes, it's a one person company. It just happened because we live in a very active economic world, so it can come to a situation when you lose a job. So it happened to me twice in my life, and twice it was because the company restructured or the company was bought by another company. So many people were laid off, and that included me. So then you think what you do. And actually, around that time, I was actually already writing, and I also talked to my employer then and said that I want to publish my books. Is it okay if I work full time and on the side also publish my books? They said no problem at all. But then this happened. So and then I thought, okay, there are some authors who are self-employed, and I went, and here in Denmark, it's a very good atmosphere for new small companies to be created, and it's very easy actually to have a company.
They're very
So I went
supportive of
to
that. Yeah.
Yes, they're very supportive of that. And I went to a consultant, and he encouraged me to do that. And after a long talk with my husband, we thought that I would give it a go. And I wanted to be a writer, so I thought, and I also wanted to bring a positive change. So I thought of different names and looked online which domain names were already taken. And Optimist Writer was not at that time. So that's what I did. And it helped a lot, because when I had my doubts, I once shared with my husband at the beginning of the time, and he said, just remember the name of your company and go on.
But so now, is the company, does it embrace your writing, or does it embrace consulting for writers overall? How does it work?
It's just everything I do as a company. So it is both writing. I also teach sometimes at the local writing school. Then also my courses for self gamification, but also the part of consulting I did is a part also of my company for the technical part, which is now kind of shifted into a part-time employment. So it's whatever I don't do as employee, it's a part of my business.
Okay, good. I got it. All right, but let's move on to the gaming series, because this is kind of fascinating. You published 10 books in this series, right?
Yes.
And
yeah.
I remember when your first book came out was Gameful. What was the name of the first one?
The first one actually was before I knew the word gamification. It is
Okay.
called, it is called 5-Minute Perseverance Game.
Okay.
Yes, it was inspired by my writing teacher. It was when I was writing actually the truth about family, is that I joined a writing course by best-selling author Mena van Praag. She's an author in UK, and she had like a phone course for the students. She had like about six students, and we have sent her 3 pages of our work in progress. She reviewed that work and gave us feedback in a phone call, in a group phone call. It was very, very productive. But at some point, like in between the phone calls, these were monthly phone calls. In between them, we noticed that we were not very motivated to write just before the call, and that's it. And then she said, let's play a game, write every day, a little bit every day, and let's report to each other in a Facebook group. And we did that, and it was really amazing because there was this feedback. And especially for me, I actually started kind of writing every day. I said I wrote 100 words, I wrote 600 words, and so on. And I was asking how other people did. And then we stopped after this month, but somehow this rhythm continued for me, and I didn't stop. And then in 2015, I joined a writers club, and my friends kind of noticed. And we just moved houses. I just had my business created. I was finishing my second book, and I had 2 small children, and they kind of were curious, like, how do you do that? And I recalled this game. But this time I named the game, I defined the rules in a more rigid way, saying it's 5 minutes
More
a day.
structured, yeah.
Yes, more structured, yes. And then also said how you give the points. So, and we also I created a Facebook group, and we started playing. And it was just absolutely amazing, because I also brought a project into it. And I wrote, within this month that I moderated, I wrote 6,000 words.
Wow.
Just by a couple of minutes a day. And that was mind-blowing, because 6,000 words, it means if you write like this the whole month, and some of the days I didn't manage to write. So if you do the whole year, you had 70,000 words just by 5 minutes a day.
That's
And
that's impressive.
yes, and it really showed to me, like, anyone can write a book in a year. And many authors, I learned, have this contract with traditional publishers one a year, one book a year.
Yeah.
So it's often kind of a contract. They might have also more, but one a year is quite usual. So I thought, oh, I could actually be traditional publishing if I would have a chance or would have. So that was really amazing. And then an author joined. She's a award-winning author here in Denmark, and she had a problem to write a sequel for her first book.
Or you mean like
And
writer's block, or she just couldn't quite figure out the
she was writing a blog, so
no,
she
like a writer's block? I meant was she encountering that kind of phenomena? Like
it's difficult to say because she was also teaching. I don't know if it was just concerning her project, but she was writing other things like articles, blogs. But when it came to this project, she couldn't continue. And I suggested this game because this game takes your project and you have to do that game, nothing else. So not that project that you take in the game, in this 5-minute perseverance game. And this served like, well, she would say, okay, I write 5 minutes and that's it. But she didn't stop. She was writing them for 1 hour or more. And then at some point she reported in our small Facebook group, she said, oh, I finished. And she was so happy. And also allowed me to use the cover of the second book on my website to share. And this kind of experiences also from other friends who were renovating their houses, who were learning languages and making progress. And that inspired me to write the book. And then after I have written the book and published it, I was sharing it. And one of the friends said, oh, we've learned it. We started it at the university. It's called gamification. And I was like, gamey what? So
but they had studied your book at the university.
No, the gamification.
Oh, gamification, yeah.
So I just shared the idea of the book, and this person said that it's called gamification. I didn't know about it. So I went home immediately and started searching it. And I found that it's the whole industry, and it's just amazing and blew my mind. And so I started writing about it, and also self-help. I thought, okay, what I do is self-help and also gamification. And the small steps I learned, it was Kaizen, continuous improvement, the philosophy from Japan, which originally comes from the States. But it was like amazing. And I was writing about it. And then in the conversation with my sister, we discovered I was the first to use the word. So, so that's how it kind of developed.
You're kind of ground zero for this whole thing.
Yes.
I mean, it's interesting because you've structured it, and now you have gamification for all sorts of different themes.
Yes.
Is that how does that? I mean, do people like go, wow? I mean, do people do they sort of choose which one fits them, or
Yes, yes, absolutely. So I also started this series, which is called Gameful Life, and it started with Gameful Project Management, which you mentioned at the beginning, a bit earlier, but also then Gameful Healing. But it connected also to what happened in my life. For example, I have different health issues, so I was thinking if my children will have to go through some of them, like food intolerances, which quite often start in 40s, 50s person's life. So I thought, okay, I can share with them and they can profit from it when, I don't know if I will be here when they are in 40s, 50s. So I thought I will write this book for them. Then COVID came and my editor said, why don't you write a blog post about gameful isolation? But I love writing books. So I wrote a tiny book called Gameful isolation.
I saw that, yeah.
Yes. And then gameful writing, I was curious about parables. I'm a huge fan, and also let's say an email friend with an author, a New York Times bestselling author, John David Mann. He reviewed my Cheerleading for Writers book, and we started writing emails to each other and became, you could say email friends. And I love this genre and all his parables, so I tried out how to write a parable by writing gameful writing. So
Interesting.
yes, it's a story of 7 people. Uh, One of them kind of inspires the other 6, and they all learn about life and games, but also writing. But writing not in terms of different genres of writing, non-fiction, fiction, but how we treat writing. For example, we want to write a book, but are afraid of, or we need to write something we think is important, but we are afraid of the reaction, like a blog post or something.
Mm.
Or then maybe we need to write something we don't want to write and think it's nonsense to write it, like a report or test or whatever. Then writing is a gift. So I kind of split those in those things and put some life lessons with.
So it's kind of fair to say that each one of your books in the gamification series are really inspired by life events that happened to you, or that you found, like you said, COVID and your health issues, and then this. It's interesting, very interesting. So it's very practical stuff.
Absolutely. And actually, the last book that I published, it's about dealing with emotions and how it's called Navigate Your Emotions by exploring them like games. So the philosophy here, and I come more and more to see that you can explore anything like a game. And actually, whatever you're stuck with, if there is a problem, a challenge, when you start splitting it into the 4 main components of games, and these are goals, rules, feedback system, and voluntary participation, then you actually start understanding it better. And when I tried to do this with emotions, and I actually even taught a course for writers, it was interesting for them, like a completely new approach to see, okay, anger, happiness, joy, embarrassment, whatever, can be actually considered as a game, and you can see whether you want to stay with this emotion game or not. So it's very interesting.
I read the book, and I was fascinated by it because I'd never seen anybody quite break down the subject of emotion from that perspective. But if you look at life from a gaming perspective, it makes it so much easier to deal with it.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely.
the ups and downs or whatever. I mean, it is a big game, really, and sometimes we just get too serious about it and forget that it's a game.
Yes, yes. And actually, it can happen also to non-gamers or even gamers, that when they even experience games as something serious, and then becomes a chore. So a chore that you have to do. So it's very interesting to see this philosophy of games. It comes from life. So it is a part of life, but it's interesting how we separated it over the years and said, okay, life is serious, games are fun and not serious. But it's not true, actually. And there are a lot of, I'm really glad that now games are coming through gamification into life, but there is still this separation. It's very interesting, and I've been discussing this in game design and gamification community, saying that everything is a game, and even the leading game designers and gamification designers, they still kind of argue with that when we have really, really fun discussions.
They're still trying to divide, put a wall there. Yeah, I get it.
Yes, yes. And also dividing games and play. That's also a quite interesting topic.
Yeah. Because it's integrated into life. Gaming is about life. So
yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, it's fascinating. I mean, I think you've really done some incredible work there. We're going to be ending off in a couple of minutes. I wanted to ask you, though, if you had a message for other authors, or even other authors that aspiring authors, like we all were one day. What would you say to them?
I would say, be your best friend.
To encourage them, obviously.
Yes, absolutely. Be your best friend. Take care of yourself, and really look what's happening with your emotions, and because actually your emotions are your guides. They guide you through through the process. And I like
through the process of writing, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. And there is something which comes from my, an idea that I had. It comes from my background as a semiconductor physics and electronic engineering background. I have a PhD in that, and I worked with semiconductor devices. And there's something I called fan detecting antenna. FDA, I even abbreviated it like that. So this device is actually your awareness, what is fun for you. So if you notice when you write something, when you read something, when you have a scene of your book or something that is stuck or it doesn't work or you are not having fun, so it's not something wrong with you, it's something wrong with that object. So you can take a look at it and say it's like a bad game design. So there are not many, actually game designers are encouraged to create a lot of bad game designs because there are elements of them that are really amazing. So just look at it as a design that just doesn't quite work, and then think, how could you improve it, or what would be interesting to take a part of it out, to maybe to delete it completely, start a new game, and so on. So look at it as a game and follow your fun detecting antenna.
It's great advice. It's great advice. Well, is there a website that we should end off with that where people can find more about you?
Yes, the same website has two names. So one is my complicated name, but you can find it also by just going into optimistwriter.com, and you will find the way.
Optimistwriter.com. So we'll pass that along to the viewers.
Yes.
Well, this is great. It's been great talking to you.
Thank you so much.
Fantastic that you joined the podcast. And I know that we'll be hearing from you in the future on more books. You have more books coming down the line, I assume, right?
Yes, I'm writing now more books on self-gamification. Yes.
Great. Victoria, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Really. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Bye now.
Bye.